Hi everyone, it's Mel from Wildly Curious here. Today we're going to do some den building. Den building is always a favourite and your shelters can be as simple or elaborate as you like. This activity is suitable for all ages and all the family can join in with this one. As most of you are not going to have access to large numbers of really long sticks at the moment, we're going to practice shelter building skills on a miniature scale. All the principles are the same, but just on a much smaller scale. So here's what you need. The main thing that you need is a big pile of twigs. So we've got lots of different lengths there. I've also collected a pair of secateurs to trim up my twigs if I need to. You can always snap them. Next we've got a large stone and some elastic bands, or you can use some string as well, depending on how confident you are at tying knots. We've collected together quite a lot of leaf litter that will be used for the top of the shelter. And over here is a pile of foliage. We've got some Christmas tree offcuts there and some offcuts from a bay tree. So we're going to start with 2 sticks, preferably fork sticks. I've only managed to find one with a fork in it, but they will help with interlocking your 2 front sticks. So we're going to put them together like that, and then I'm going to push them into the ground, which is quite handy because at the moment the ground is wet enough that we can push them in, and that just adds a little bit more stability to our shelter. And then what we're going to do is find another long stick, which is going to become our diagonal ridge pole, and we're going to balance it there like that. Now for added strength, it's probably a good move to add some string or an elastic band at this point. If you were building a full-size shelter and you wanted it to last for a good amount of time, tying your sticks together is a really good idea. We're just going to use elastic bands for speed here. There we go. Now, to keep this end from moving and not sliding out, today we can actually push it into the ground, but if you were unable to do that because the ground's too hard, we could just put a rock at the end and that would stop that moving. You could equally use a log as well to stop it going in. Right, there we go. That feels quite secure. That's our structure now built. The next part that we need to do is we need to add the sides to the shelter. This is the front here. We need to add the sides. To make the next bit easier, I like to add 2 more long sticks and lay them on the ground from the front of the shelter to the back of the shelter, like that. That one's a little bit long, that's okay. This will act as a guide for where to put the roof sticks. Now we're going to use lots of little sticks of different lengths. Measure them against your shelter frame, like so. That one's obviously too long, so I'm going to cut that one in half. Again, we can push the sticks into the ground a little bit here, like that. This one will fit about there. Let's put that one in there. Just going to lean them, just going to lean them forward slightly. You can see that this stick here is acting as a guide for where the ends of these need to go. So now that the frame of our shelter is complete, we can start to add some covering. The covering will keep you warm and dry. If you were building this shelter for real in large size, you would probably need 50 to 80 centimetres thick of covering to keep you warm and dry. So we're going to start with some foliage. This is from a Christmas tree because that's what I had lying around. When you put this onto your shelter, you need to put it this way up rather than this way up. If you put it this way up, it won't shed the rain. The raindrops will get caught in the needles and you'll get wet. So we're going to put it this way up. So I'm just going to trim some of these down a little bit, and then I'm going to stand them up like that on the side of my shelter. This will add a little bit of support for the leaf litter that we're going to put on next. You can even hook them over the sticks at the top. Right, that's that side done. I think we'll do the other side now. Now, to keep all that in place, the next thing that we need to do is to add our insulation layer, which is going to be our dry leaves. So the final step is to add the bit that's going to keep you warm. We're going to use some leaf litter. These are quite dry, these leaves, and it's a very windy day today, so we'll see how we get on with these. Grab a handful, start at the bottom. And slowly build it up. The foliage that we put on earlier is helping to keep the leaves from falling through into the shelter too much. Once one side is done, we can start on the other. As it's a windy day today and our leaves are quite dry, they are blowing all over the place. So we're just going to add some leftover foliage onto the top of the shelter. That will just help to hold the leaves down. There we go. Finally, to keep really warm inside your shelter, you would need to raise yourself off of the ground and provide a layer of insulation between you and the ground. There we go. So we've just used the last few bits of Christmas tree there to make a little raised mattress area. Okay, so now for the ultimate test. Will our shelter keep us dry? Here's a piece of kitchen roll. You could use toilet roll, but I think you might have other more important reasons to keep that. I'm going to put a piece of kitchen roll inside the shelter, like that. Okay, here comes the rain. Right, the moment of truth. Yay! It's dry. Excellent. All done. If you're building a full-size shelter to sleep in, here are some handy hints and tips. First of all, always build your shelter close by to your materials. So if you need lots of wood, build it somewhere where there's lots of wood. If you need lots of leaf litter, build it somewhere where there's lots of leaf litter. Secondly, try to use natural features where possible. So to keep out of the wind, if you can find a rock face to protect you, that's a really good idea. You could also use the fork in a tree instead of this cross piece at the front. So try to use natural features where possible. Also, if you're making a real shelter that you're going to sleep in, you should always check above you for hazards. So in a woodland, check above you to make sure there are no dead branches just hanging precariously in trees. Also, have a look on the ground. When you decide to build your shelter, have a look on the ground and make sure you're not in a dip. That's going to fill up with water as soon as it rains. And make sure that you're not too close to any anthills, badger latrines, and so on and so forth. If you do manage to build your own mini shelter in your garden at some point, please remember to post your photos onto our Facebook page. We'd love to see what you are doing. And don't forget to like and subscribe the YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.